It's Florida Daily TV, brought to you by FloridaDaily.com. For all your news on politics, business, and education, it's FloridaDaily.com. Now, here's your host, Ed Dean.
Welcome to another edition of Florida Daily TV, brought to you by FloridaDaily.com. I am your host, publisher Ed Dean. Here with us by Zoom from Tallahassee, our editor Kevin Derby, and you can hear him all over on talk radio throughout the state as well, and Claire Goforth, who is political reporter for the Daily.com, and you can hear her on NPR throughout the state of Florida here. I want to play for you some clips here. Let's talk about polls. I like polls, Kevin. I know a lot of, it's amazing, some of my friends on the Trump side don't buy into the polls. But if they're going our way, they do. Let me play for you the latest from NBC and the Wall Street Journal. Here's Meet the Press, Chuck Todd, of what, out of 20 issues, Biden's winning on 17. Trump's winning on the issue of cognitive crime in the economy. Here's the clip.
NBC News Wall Street Journal poll shows good news for Democrats overall, but there are a few shining lights for President Trump. When it comes to a handling of a few key issues, Mr. Trump does hold an edge among registered voters on one big one, and the biggest is the economy. But he also leads on issues like crime and having the necessary mental and physical health for the presidency. But it's a 10-point edge on the economy, which may represent the president's best chance to gain traction in this campaign. But of course, Biden has his own winning formula of issues. Voters in our poll believe he'd be better at bringing the country together, that he'd be better at handling race relations, and perhaps the biggest, dealing with the coronavirus. He has a 16-point edge over President Trump on that issue. Are actually the most important to voters this year? Here's what they told us. When we asked them to list the 2 or 3 they care about most when picking a president, a majority told us the economy is the #1 issue on their minds as they make their choice.
Now, that to me, I want to start with you first, Claire, because I want to play the next clip, because the NBC can't believe he's winning on the economy. Right now, the #1 issue is the economy. I've been hearing all of those on the left. Oh, my word, he got us into this dump. There's no way. But yet, if we're in the worst jobs recession since out of the Great Depression, how in the world can Biden be losing 10 points to President Trump?
Yeah, that is pretty surprising. I mean, I guess because Trump has been out there yammering about how great he is at the economy for 3 years.
And has he not? I mean, he's had a pretty good record, has he not?
He inherited a great economy. And
well, I don't know about that.
He cut some taxes, so the stock market looked really good for the rich folks. I mean,
really?
Yeah, he really did do that,
Obama
actually.
too, did it not?
I was there. The economy was doing great under Obama. I mean, he got us out of the most serious recession since the Great Depression, and gave Trump this really killer economy.
I don't know about that.
1.6
sure GDP growth rate in 2016 isn't great. And by the way, manufacturing's been night and day under that. But having said this,
what about the national debt, though?
Hey, I would agree with you. No disagreement. Here is, listen to, I think this is Stephanie Rulli from MSNBC. They can't believe that Trump is winning on the issue of crime and the economy.
While Joe Biden is improving in the national polls, what's amazing is we've got 30 million people unemployed, yet the president does better on the economy. We've got in most major cities crime on the rise, yet the president doing better on crime. Then given the chaos and the debacle, why on earth does this president poll well when it comes to the economy and crime?
Now, Kevin, listen, you are a master at dissecting a lot of these polls with your articles at FloridaDaily.com. It's the #1 issue. Is it something that should be giving a lot of those of the Trump supporters a lot of hope that this may translate to up by 10 points? It's the #1 issue. I mean, you still got a boatload of other issues down there. How does this mix the game now?
Look, Donald Trump has a simple message to win a second term. You know, I gave you the best economy this nation's ever seen. I can get it back. It is a simple message. It is, I think, the best argument the president has. The problem is Donald Trump can't be – it's not – Donald Trump gets in his own way. He talks about everything else. He gets on Twitter. Whatever the daily outrage is, he'll weigh in on it. That's the problem. The president and his supporters have got to go back to basics, stress the economy. That'll help, make up the gap against Biden. 10% though, look, that's 55-45. That's not exactly a decisive edge. And it's one of the reasons why Biden's ahead right now. I think Trump has got to focus again on that issue. He's got to talk about it, in the coming days. Time is running out. We're less than 11 weeks out.
Or Kevin, it could be 50-40 and 10% undecided. Anyway, I'm messing with you.
Sure.
I'm joking with you.
The problem is right now, this election is on the clock. Trump has got to make that argument quickly.
Claire, here's another clip. I'm even stunned. is this one. CNN's national poll. Now, I look at the state-by-state battlegrounds show it almost within a dead heat. Okay. Why do these numbers moved up for Trump? I wish somebody. I think there's a little bit, but we can spin all that all day. But 50-46, CNN nationwide poll, Biden over Trump. Listen to Chris Cuomo. This is what he said.
My sentiment is, boy, the Democrats should be nervous if after months of ignoring a pandemic, this sitting president is just a few points away from Joe Biden. Scary time. But he's not up 10 points in any state that matters. That's all I'm saying. This president has the worst 6 months I've ever seen, and he's still within striking distance.
Listen, even I have said this. I mean, he should be losing by 15, 18 points with the beat up by the media, the way things have been going with COVID, even with the economy. How is it that he's within striking distance? CNN had to go look at the Real Clear Average Politics because they didn't buy their own numbers there. And I'm not saying I necessarily buy it as well, but the state by state, how can Trump still be in striking distance, for crying out loud?
It is a good question, but there are people who really ardently support him. If I was the Biden campaign right now, I would be nervous about those numbers.
Really?
But I would also be taking him with a big pinch of salt because 2016, basically everybody predicted that Hillary Clinton was going to handily win the election. So if those polls were wrong, how can we be sure that these polls are right? I think at some point we have to start looking at how we're polling, who we're polling, and try to get a sense of whether or not these things are really accurate.
Yeah, on that one. I want to go to a fun issue. This gets a lot of conversation. This will, on the radio show that we have, also on the emails from FloridaDaily.com. Goodyear came out where, and let me set this story up. Goodyear Tire. Everybody knows the Goodyear. It was, I think, at a branch office somewhere. They were doing diversity training session. I guess an employee took a screenshot and it said on the left, go figure, what is acceptable to wear. I'm going to play the clip in a moment. And then on the right, what is not acceptable. What was acceptable was LGBT and BLM. What was not acceptable was All Lives Matter. This was apparel. I guess you can still wear apparel at some of these stores without a uniform and no dress code. And you couldn't wear MAGA information. Listen to the clip. This is from Jackie DeAngelis from the Fox Business Network.
Goodyear is basically playing defense right now because of the controversy, because of the criticism about a document that supposedly came from the company in one of its diversity training sessions, and it's being labeled as discriminatory. So there's basically a photo going around on social media, and it's got this slide that supposedly came from a meeting, and it says acceptable and not acceptable when it comes to the zero tolerance policy of the company. So on the acceptable side, it lists Black Lives Matter as well as lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender pride. On the unacceptable side, there's Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, MAGA attire, political affiliated slogans or materials.
So let me stop right there. So Goodyear thinks it was just one of their branches of groups that did this. So Claire, let me start with you. First off, when I show up at work, and I'm not wearing a T-shirt for that shirt. I don't even do any of these out in the open just because I want to enjoy my dinner. I don't want to have to strike up a political conversation out there. I want to play a clip real quick. Here is Don Lemon from CNN on with Anderson Cooper 360 about the clothing out there that. And listen to what Lemon says. He says that, well, if it's LGBT and BLM, they should be able to wear it. If it's MAGA, they should not be able to wear it. One is political wear and the other one's in the Constitution. Listen to this.
It also opens up discussion because of what's allowed inside workplaces, and that's something obviously companies wrestle with all the time. Whether it's MAGA attire or Black Lives Matter attire or pride flag, what do you make of that?
Well, I think there's a difference between equality and politics, something being political. There's nothing, I believe, that should be inherently political about Black Lives Matter or Gay Lives Matter or a pride flag. That has to do with equality. That has to do with protection, equal protection under the Constitution as a citizen of the United States. The right to wear a political shirt or hat in the workplace, workplaces have rules. You have rules of what you can wear to work, I can't wear. And so I think there is a big difference between something that is political and something that has to do with equality. I would not want to wear an Obama shirt to work. I may want to wear it my personal life. I would not want to wear a Make America Great Again hat to work because it's political. It shows my...
Okay, listen, BLM, LGBT, listen, you could wear a religious shirt and somebody, is this during the election season? Maybe it's in the eye of the beholder. First off, I don't wear any of that stuff out either at work. Having said that, how is it that... Well, if it's LGBT or BLM, that's already in the Constitution. That's not really political, but the MAGA is, or Blue Lives Matter. Claire, I think it's all political.
I mean, don't we believe that equality is universal regardless of political party? I mean, I think that's the point that Don Lemon is trying to make. That is also something that is universal to everyone. But, there has certainly been... Black Lives Matter and LGBT rights are something that has been somewhat politicized, undeniably. But for the president to go on Twitter and call for a boycott of
I didn't agree with the boycott. I agree with you.
122-year-old American company that employs, 69,000 Americans?
Yeah.
Because one branch had as an example of what would be prohibited political speech in their clothing choices. I mean, that is a bad look. That is just anti-American.
Hold on, Kevin.
It's really interesting how the red hat has become such a political flashpoint across the country.
It is, and I have red hats. There's one red hat that I have from a hotel in Florida. I just like the logo. I like the hat. I don't wear it anymore because people think I'm wearing a MAGA hat. That's my choice not to wear it. I do think that that hat conjures up a certain feeling in people. Many people wear it, they say out of pride. Others wear it as a, sort of, in your face.
Let us go back. Angela Rye, CNN. Listen to this clip.
Forget Donald Trump for a moment and just think about the symbol of that red hat. When I see the Make America Great Again hat now, Chris, I am triggered. I'm so triggered. But this Make America Great Again hat is just as maddening and frustrating and triggering for me to look at as a KKK hood.
Masks have gotten so political. MAGA hats have gotten so political that you've got those, it triggers me now. Anybody wearing a red hat automatically triggers me. I just have to assume, is it going to get worse in the next 2 months?
It's only going to get worse from here. Look, a few things. One, I think Trump's called for a boycott of Goodyear. Look, Goodyear has a right to free speech like everybody else. It's the 14th Amendment. Here's the problem. When's the last time a Republican president won a presidential election without Ohio? Answer, it's never happened. Not in 160 years. He cannot afford to lose votes, anger Goodyear in Ohio. He just can't. But here's the thing. Look, if Trump loses, I think we have to, conservatives and Trump supporters have to start realizing if you're going to show up in MAGA hats, you're going to start losing your jobs. Well, that's free speech. Well, folks, we gave companies the power to right to work. So now you're complaining about it? Look, you either regulate business or you don't. And I guarantee you, if Trump goes down, that's exactly what's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to. Let me ask you, Kevin. This has always been a hot issue. I mean, it's one of these that's maybe not in the ballpark. It's under the radar, but when you talk about it, it'll get a lot of input from people. Let me start with you. Should schools be allowed? Let's say a kid wants to come in. I don't care if he's 18 in high school, he or she, and let's say that it says MAGA, or let's say Biden-Harris or Harris-Biden, whatever. I don't care. Should we allow shirts like this in our local schools, even if we don't have uniforms? I guess some parents, let's go straight to uniforms. Kids want to look good. They want to wear this. They want to wear that. What do you think a school district? You should, freedom of speech. I hear that all the time. To me, I don't have any kids. I wouldn't want, just dress the way you normally do. I don't want to start any controversy. You're here to learn, not set some sort of fashion statement politically. What do you think school districts come down on this issue?
Yeah, look, I do think school districts should probably give the kids a right to free speech in most cases, as long as it's not vulgarity.
Right.
I think it's okay. I remember there was a huge case in Massachusetts back in the 90s. The ACLU got involved about a kid wearing a co-ed naked lacrosse T-shirt. The school trying to ban him.
Right.
And it's like, really? That's the hill you're willing to die on? I think most kids should be able to wear whatever they want. As long as it's not vulgar.
But Claire,
except girls.
I gotta ask you.
Constantly being told what we can and
I know,
wear.
but I gotta ask you. Come on, for crying out loud! St. Louis Cardinals, the Washington D.C. Nationals. What about the Kansas City Chiefs? What about firefighters? They all wear red hats. And you mean to tell me that if I see somebody wearing a Biden shirt in a restaurant, I don't get worked up. I eat my food. Hey, how's it going? You mean to tell me that the MAGA hat is going to trigger somebody? Like CNN says, it's like somebody wearing a Klan hat. For crying out loud, really?
A lot of people see that MAGA hat and they think you don't like blacks, you don't like Latinos.
Well, what about the black people that wear MAGA hats? You've seen the pictures?
I'm not saying that black people don't wear the MAGA hat. I'm saying that many people look at that hat and they think that you don't like the other. You don't like me. And you know why they think that? Because Donald Trump repeatedly says things like that. And that's his campaign slogan. I mean, we didn't make him say those things, but he goes ahead and says them.
So you mean people automatically get triggered?
I mean, I think that it causes an emotional reaction.
Kevin, maybe this is like the the Red Sox versus the Yankees, right?
Look, as a Marlins fan, I get triggered when I see red Phillies and Nationals hats.
You know, the Dallas Cowboys do it for me.
There you go. But look, here's the thing. I do think it's only going to get worse here. And look, if Trump loses, I do think with the way young people feel about the president, it's not going to be very hard for them to make the connection. Red hats, white sheets, brown shirts. It's coming. I think it's coming through education. It's coming through professors. And yeah, it's coming through the HR departments of corporations. It's time conservatives stop going to bat for corporations that will always sell them out.
Someday I want to do a show of companies that are giving the amount of money to Black Lives Matter and to show people what Black Lives Matter's positions are. I find that very fascinating. Let's talk about something here real quickly. We've got a couple minutes left here on this edition of Florida Daily TV. We're now going to go into Labor Day in the next week or so, next couple of weeks, whatever, and that's when we're going to really, as they say, business is about to pick up. We've got minimum wage in Florida. Going to be a hot issue. I think it could hurt the pro-minimum wage with the economy, the pro-minimum wage crowd. I tell you a story.
Pro-minimum wage as in
raising, 10 and then jacking up to 15. There's one that's under the radar. It's like one of these where when you talk about it, it gets people going. All primary votes where the Dems can vote, the NPA, non-party affiliation, the Dems, Republicans can vote for put in the Dem candidate. For the general, Dems can do the Republicans. You got a lot of people that don't mind that and a lot of people that do. I mean, this is going to be a very big topic. I don't think the Republican should be putting in the Dem and the Dem should be putting in the Republican candidate.
Yeah, but what happens because we don't have unitary elections is that a candidate can get somebody to file to run in the opposing party and close the primary, which disenfranchises voters. We've seen that in various places around Florida. Why not? Why shouldn't we be able to vote for the candidate that we want?
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting amendment, Kevin, coming down the road. I mean, we got the minimum wage happening as well, but this is going to be a lot, especially as Florida's being a swing state.
Yeah, it's an interesting issue, and the NPA group continues to grow. One other thing that I think helps impact this is, look, we have 120 House districts, 40 state Senate districts. Almost every single one of them, whatever contest ended on the primaries. They're that gerrymandered.
All right.
So that being the case, yeah, I don't think they're going to get 60% on this. It will get better than people think. It's coming. I don't think it's this year. I do think this issue's coming.
By the way, I got to have a little fun with you, Claire. I don't use this word lightly, but the biggest I'm going to put Claire on the spot because that's Claire and NPR and all this stuff.
Take it.
So what's the biggest scam? The post office nonsense is being talked about by the Democrats or the teachers union still refusing to allow schools open because now it's based on the issues of race, not school safety or COVID-19.
Ooh, that is a tough one.
And I don't use that word scam. I mean, I'm saying a little, but I mean, really, the post office, 471 pieces per day. And we're talking, let me be very liberal here. You'll like that one for once. 150 people going to vote over a month. Are you kidding me? You can't tell me you can't handle that? The post office?
The post office can handle it, but the president said point blank that he was doing this because he thinks that Democrats want to vote by mail, which we did
by the way,
see.
When you close down, let me just say this for the record, when Republican or Democrat, Kevin, when you start shutting down like polling and maybe schools won't be able to vote, colleges, because some of them may not fully be reopened because of COVID, you drive people to vote by mail, and you are going to have some problems with that. But real quick, we talked about last week, 60% voted by absentee in a primary. We haven't seen that happen before, have we, Kev?
No, it's been higher than ever before. And look, I think the president is hurting his own cause here. Vote by mail has always been.
He doesn't properly explain it.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, he's hurting it, with his various. I'm sorry, you can't explain it in 140 characteristics or less on Twitter. That's the problem. Look, since Tom Slade took over the Republican Party of Florida back in '94, This has been the bread and butter of Florida Republicans.
But Kevin,
paid off big time.
Kevin, this is a myth about the post office. I mean, come on. If the Democrats going to win by 12 points, is this another insurance package just in case something goes south? They're going to blame Trump and the post office?
I think it's an insurance policy for Donald Trump. I think, to be very candid with you, if he loses in November, he's going to use this as a big.
I agree with you. And if the Democrats lose, there's going to be lawsuits about certain things. Hey, listen, they already are down here. The lawyers are already here in Florida. Lawsuits are already taking place as we speak.
For both sides. Yeah,
exactly.
It's going to be that close. Absolutely.
All your buddies, Claire, with all the legal people out there. So anyway, I know. So where we go? Real quick, last week with the primary, anything shocked you?
I mean, it was really surprising to see the edge that Democrats had in turnout.
Yeah, a lot of those in the black community heavily showed up. That should be worrisome to some of those on the conservative aisle. Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that Claire's absolutely spot on there. The one upset that I did not see coming, I think a lot of people did. Alan Cohn knocked off Adam Hattersley in what is one of the most competitive congressional races in Central Florida. That's where Scott Franklin edged Ross Spano in defeating an incumbent congressman. That's a race to watch. Franklin.
Anna Escamani. Did I pronounce that right? She is the AOC of Florida. She wants to be. She is. Give her credit. I don't agree with her views, but I always call it the way it is. She is knocking off what the Democratic Party, like Kim Daniels and others, perceive as a little bit too moderate for them. Is this a way that's going to take place, Kevin?
Yeah, I think we're going to see more and more. But look, Kim Daniels was such a an anti-Semite and overly conservative. She was not going to be able. That's not the liberals knocking her off. That was the Democratic establishment.
That's what. Well, I would agree. Okay, hey,
the establishment took her down.
Florida Daily TV mugs. How do we like that?
I know, right?
There we go.
Very
Kevin
fancy.
Derby is the editor for FloridaDaily.com. Claire Goforth from NPR and also from the Daily Dot. Go to daily.com. I'm your host, publisher Ed Dean. Don't forget, for all your news we do, we authenticate our own. It's originated. We don't copy and paste. And anything else, again, for all the news here, that's the latest of what's going on. It's at FloridaDaily.com, FloridaDaily.com. We'll see you next time right here on Florida Daily TV.